Hey everybody, and welcome back to our third and final part in the Precision Farming How-To Guide. In this video, we're going to take a look at applying nitrogen or fertilizer to your fields. When should this be done, and how much should be applied? In general, there are two main types of fertilizer in game. We have organic and mineral. Organic fertilizer would be our manure, slurry, and digestate, where our mineral fertilizers are going to be our solid, granular fertilizer, and our liquid fertilizer. This time, weeds are not really a factor in the precision farming add-on. So ideally, you would be applying your organic fertilizer before seeding. And the reason for that is that precision farming basically is set up to apply a fixed amount of organic fertilizer to the field dependent on soil type. So if we take a look at the chart here, you're going to see that basically loamy sand is always going to have 40 kilograms per hectare applied. Sandy loam is going to always have 60 kilograms per hectare applied. Loam is going to have 80 kilograms per hectare applied, and silty clay value of 60 kilograms per hectare. Take a look here at field. This is field 7. We have silty clay, we have loam, sandy loam, and loamy sand. Happen to have all four types of soil, handily enough, on this field. Go ahead and pull up our F1 menu. And I've got a manure spreader here and a slurry digestate spreader. I'm going to hire a helper and basically observe how much they apply. We are in loam soil and it's applying plus 80 kilograms per hectare. As I said earlier, from the chart, as we move into our silty clay area, we're going to see that shift to 60 kilograms per hectare. Turn around a little bit faster. The current nitrogen level is 40 kilograms. We're adding 60, moving up to 100. 40, adding 80, so we're moving up to 120. This is not getting our field to a specific nitrogen level. It's just flat out applying a singular amount based on soil type. Just switch to slurry, demonstrate that this is going to be the same. And we can even shift that over to digestate. Also demonstrate this. So applying plus 60, plus 80, depending on the type of soil we are in. And something else related to mineral fertilizer. If you apply mineral fertilizer before feeding, it's going to behave in a very similar fashion. That is because nitrogen application is really crop dependent. The reason we apply an organic fertilizer before putting crop in the ground is to then bring the nitrogen content up to a point where we can apply less chemical fertilizer. And the reason we want to apply less chemical fertilizer is, well, chemical fertilizer costs a lot of money. Slurry, digestate, and manure are typically fairly cost effective, because if you own animals or you're using the biogas plant, you're going to be getting those items as byproducts. Go ahead and put digestate in here now, and we'll make one more pass across the field. Our helper off, and basically if we apply mineral fertilizer, as you'll see on this chart here, in loamy sand it applies 60 kilograms per hectare. In sandy loam it applies 80 kilograms per hectare. In loam it applies 100 kilograms per hectare, and silty clay it applies 80 kilograms per hectare. Take a look here now. We have a pH value of 100, or nitrogen value, of 100. Nitrogen value of 60, because basically we're getting over here to where we haven't applied any. We have a nitrogen value of 20 to 40. And we can see that in the nitrogen screen right here. Brought up our field, for the most part, 100, 120, from a level of 20 to 40. Take a look down here on the other fields that we own. Field 22 is a field that we've already harvested once, and we can see it as a basic blanket value of 60 kilograms per hectare. Whereas field 21, we haven't planted yet. It has between 20 and 0 kilograms per hectare. So while we are waiting for this to finish out, let's talk about the various crop nitrogen requirements. And it's going to be a little busy. It's going to be a little bit of an eye chart. That's okay. We're just going to work through this. So if we take a look at this graphic is showing you wheat, barley, oat, canola, corn, grass, and sunflowers. And the numbers represent the ideal nitrogen levels for those crops for the various soil types. Last number represents how much, according to the XML in precision farming, the crop removes from soil post-harvest, basically post-growing season. You'll see wheat, for example, in loamy sand needs 140 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen. Loamy sand, wheat needs 180. In loam, wheat needs 200. And in silty clay, wheat needs 160. Take a look here at our field. It is now, for the most part, between 120 and 100. We can see that we need to increase our soil nitrogen levels, varying amounts, across this field because of soil types. Barley needs 120, 140, 180, and 120 respectively. Oat only needs 80, 100, 140, and 80. canola 140, 180, 200, and 160. Corn 120, 160, 200, and 180. Grass 160, 180, 200, and 200. Sunflowers 60, 80, 120, and 80. And that is going to basically take me down here to field 20. We're going to plant sunflowers. We have a nitrogen level of 60 in sandy loam. Sunflowers need a nitrogen level of 80 in sandy loam. Move on through here. In loam, we have a nitrogen value of 60, whereas sunflowers need 120. So we haven't applied any organic fertilizer to this field. Because, just discussed, organic fertilizer applies a flat amount no matter what crop you're going to put in, because it doesn't know. It applies a flat amount based on soil type. So what we're going to see here as we hire this helper off is we're going to see this planter applying a different amount of mineral fertilizer across this field as it encounters different nitrogen levels. And there's going to be periods of time where it doesn't apply any fertilizer because none is needed. There'll be other times where it just trickles out a little bit, other times where it applies a bit more. Now, if we had applied manure, digestate, or slurry to this field, we would have over-applied the nitrogen levels. And as a result, we would have over-fertilized the field, and we could have potentially seen a yield reduction as a result. Now let's talk about the other crops that are in game. So here is another chart for soybeans, potatoes, sugar beet, cotton, poplar, and sugarcane. Of course, we're not talking about various multi-fruits that might appear on various maps. We're talking about base game stuff here. So you'll see, interesting enough, soybeans require no nitrogen across any soil type. Very interesting. In fact, what we've seen in some harvests already is that soybeans add nitrogen post-harvest to the ground. So you end up with more nitrogen in the ground after a soybean harvest than before. Potatoes require 100 for loamy sand, 120 for sandy loam, 160 for loam, and 140 for silty clay. Sugar beets were sitting at values of 120, 140, 180, and 160. Cotton, 80, 100, 120, and 100. Poplar, 120, 160, 140, and 140. And sugarcane, 120, 160, 200, and 180. Take a look at our information screen. Our nitrogen levels. This is the baseline of 60. You can see right here, this swath here, we're not getting any nitrogen applied because we don't need any. We're applying just a little bit of nitrogen here, get us up to a value of 80 from 60. And on the fringes here, we're applying a little bit more to get us up from 60 to 100. Let's watch this go across the field just one more time. See, our target is reached of 60. We're applying none. Now we're applying 20 because we need to get to 80. And now we're applying 40, 60 because we need to get to 100 or 120. I'm going to go ahead and let this hired helper finish planting this field. It's getting a little bit dark. We'll come back in the morning and we'll continue on taking a look at field 21 and what we're going to do there. And welcome back. Gotten this field fully planted, and you can see, well, you've got crop growing, and as we walk through the field, see that we have basically perfect nitrogen levels. And if we take a look here at our nitrogen scale, 100, 60, we have 80. Over here again on field 21, we go from either 0 or just 20. So what I want to do at this point is we're going to plant corn in part of this field, and we're going to plant soybeans in the other part. Now again, we haven't treated this field with any organic fertilizer. This field has between 0 and just 20 kilograms per hectare. We're in sandy loam, and we're going to put corn in. Corn needs 160 kilograms per hectare in sandy loam. We're going to be dumping a heck of a lot of fertilizer out of our planter. Here, look how quick that fertilizer chart is going down. Applying 140 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare because we didn't pre-treat. Had we pre-treated this, now we're applying 160 kilograms per hectare because right now the ground has 0 units of nitrogen in it. Again, if we had pre-treated our loamy sand soil, we would have applied 40 kilograms per hectare of organic. So we would have only needed to apply 120 kilograms per hectare of solid fertilizer here at the end, where we were applying 160. And we would have only had to have applied 80 kilograms per hectare, where we had 20 kilograms per hectare over on the other side of the field. There you can see the benefit of kind of a pre-nitrogen treatment for planting or seeding, depending on the crop you want to plant or feed. We did not pre-treat our sunflowers, and we really didn't need to. Sections of that field where we applied no fertilizer, sections where we applied just 20 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen, and then there were other sections of field where we applied a little bit more. Had we gone through and just bulk applied an entire coat of organic, we would have, in essence, over fertilized that field. And in this field, we're paying for it. We've pretty much already applied more fertilizer in these two passes than we did through the entirety of this field here. Really paying for lack of heat. So go ahead and do 2 more passes, and then we're going to switch over to soybeans, and I'll bring you right back. And let's go ahead and apply that soybeans field, and you'll see that soybeans require 0 nitrogen. we are applying 0 fertilizer. See that from the F1 screen where we have automatic application. It says crop does not require additional fertilizer. Application rate of 0 kilograms per hectare. You can see the fertilizer level at the bottom is not going down. And if we jump out, you'll see for corn, we are sitting at perfect. And when we get over here to our soybeans, we're sitting at good. We have 20 kilograms of hectare in the ground, and we don't need any. Just getting a little bit of back splatter, corn and whatnot. So this adds a whole new layer. You're playing with seasons and crop rotation, and it kind of explains what farmers do in real life when they double crop soybeans directly behind wheat. So they'll plant winter wheat in the winter, late autumn, and it will basically grow and then be harvested, combined in early summer. And then basically as soon as they get the wheat off the ground, they come in right afterwards, often not even cultivating the soil, and they will plant soybeans in the ground. No fertilizing, because it doesn't need it. Soybeans don't need fertilizer. They will harvest that, and then they will typically follow up with corn, which is a kind of demanding crop for nitrogen, and they'll have the benefit of basically having more nitrogen in the ground than when they started. Back to the soybeans, so they'll be able to apply less organic, essentially, or less chemical fertilizer when they do get around to planting corn the following year. We're going to go ahead and kind of fast forward time, and I'm going to go ahead and harvest these fields for everybody, and we'll see where the residual nitrogen levels are. Remember, this upper section is soybeans. We're basically sitting at 20 kilograms per hectare. And here where we have our corn, we're between 180, between 160 and 120. And our sunflowers are between 120, 80, and 60. So a few hours later, we have now harvested the corn, sunflowers, and soybeans. And you can see, go to our precision farming nitrogen screen, that all of field 21 is now at 60 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen. A fair bit of field 22 is at 60 kilograms per hectare, and the rest of the field 22 is at 80 kilograms per hectare. So that's kind of interesting and going a little bit against what I said earlier in the video. Based on the XML is where that data came from. So the reduction number must mean something else. I'm just not really sure what that means. But our sunflowers, we had basically nitrogen between 60, 80, and 120 based on our soil levels. And that is basically we had 60 kilograms per hectare here, at 80 in our sandy loam, and we had 120 in our loam as far as sunflowers go. And we end up with between 60 and 80 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen post-harvest. Now, on our field 21, where we had a split between corn and soybeans, see that split right there, corn and soybeans, just under the 1 tick is where that line was. Go back here to our nitrogen. You're going to see all of field 21 is now at 60 kilograms per hectare. Remember, we had our soybeans at 20 kilograms per hectare for the most part. So harvesting our soybeans after applying 0 fertilizer gave us 40 kilograms per hectare into the ground of nitrogen. We got a nitrogen boost. So our corn had between 120 and 200 kilograms per hectare, and it is down to 60. Well, take a look at our yield. You'll see that we have good yield up here for our soybeans, 125. Got a decent yield of 100 for most of our corn. And then we had 80 right here, which again follows along that sand, that loamy sand, which has a maximum yield potential of 80. Sandy loam has a maximum yield potential of 100. And our loam has a maximum yield potential of 125. So we maxed out our soybean yield, and we didn't apply a single bit of fertilizer because of the fact soybeans don't need any nitrogen. And in the end, they actually introduce nitrogen into the soil. So we can come through here now, and if we want, we could plant sunflowers in here and put very little fertilizer, if any, on this field and get a very, very good yield. We could put wheat in here and just basically probably run our organic fertilizer through here, which again provides a static uplift, fixed amount. Put our wheat in here and probably be pretty darn close with our nitrogen levels also. Big takeaway is know what crop you're going to put in your fields, know the nitrogen requirement of that crop, and then apply your nitrogen regime to the field based on that. They mean you don't have to put a single drop of fertilizer on the field, and you're still going to get maximum. Let me know what you think in the comments of precision farming in general. What do you think of the nitrogen system and the changes that that introduces to the game? And before I close it out, I want to say one big, massive mystery is this building right here. I have absolutely no idea what this building actually does. I've really not seen any noticeable increase in worker efficiency. Most of the work done on these fields for part 2 and 3 was hired help. It didn't seem to work any faster. Didn't seem to work any more efficient. Giant. So until next time, happy farming. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell.